Small business is about courage, risk-taking, independence, and we small business owners are survivors. Everybody has an idea for a business, but how do you take that idea from mind to market? This is the place to learn.
Small Business School with Hattie Bryant.
It's a new kind of school. Together we'll learn about business from the inside out, from the people who've done it. We'll meet the men and women who are today's pioneers and quiet heroes. Their lives are the textbooks. Our classroom is the world.
Small Business School is made possible by support from IBM. We're not just for big business anymore. At our website, discover how technology can move your business forward. When it's your business, everything matters. IBM. And the United States Postal Service, delivering the promise to America's 23 million small and growing businesses. There's no wait at the post office in your own office. USPS.com is waiting for you.
Hi, I'm Hattie Bryant. If you want to understand how businesses are built and how they grow, stay with us for the next 30 minutes. You'll learn about business and the people who build them. These people are heroes because they are courageous, creative, self-reliant, and strong. On television, you see many celebrities, but don't confuse celebrity with heroism. In fact, most heroes will never be celebrities, and most celebrities will never be heroes. In this show, we discover what true heroism is. It's going where others have never gone. It's overcoming obstacles. It's living with ambiguity. It's tapping into inner strength. It's believing you're capable of making good happen for yourself and others. Steve Palco and Bob Simpson are new American heroes. Living on the edge of the West, they've grown up admiring the cowboy and the pioneer. They're like those who first settled here, independent and brave. The history of oil is like the history of the frontier. It is written by pioneers who love open spaces, who value independence, who are optimistic and willing to take risks. Like the roughnecks they employ, Steve Palco and Bob Simpson love the stuff of which the oil and gas business is made. In the tradition of the wildcatters, but with a unique strategy and discovery techniques not available in the early days of oil exploration, they are growing a business. The two formed Cross Timbers Oil in 1986 with 8 employees who believed in the future enough to work for almost nothing. They changed the company name to XTO Energy in 2001, and by 2003, they had over 900 employees.
I guess my background is I've worked for a variety of major and independent oil companies.
Steve is the engineer, Bob the CPA strategist. Is there a romance to you about the oil and gas business?
Yeah, there is a romance. You know, people ask me how I got in it, and you know, rather than some elaborate answer, it's probably simply this. When I was a little boy, my father was a cotton farmer in West Texas. And he would drive up and down the road, and he'd point at pump jacks. And he said, son, I almost bought that land, and if I had, we'd have been wealthy as a royalty owner. And so, you know, I ended up associating success and prosperity with oil. That, and I liked to smell the gas tank when we were filling up when I was 3.
Did you really?
I'd like to smell the gas, yeah. My parents really taught me responsibility. I grew up in an agrarian atmosphere where I had my own chores. And as a young man, I started my own businesses. You know, the mother laughs. I had an egg route when I was 4.
Eggs when you were 4?
When I was 4.
You would take your mother's eggs and...
I had my own hens, you know, and it was totally subsidized because Daddy, you know, I didn't know what economics were, but I just, you know, so I marketed eggs door to door and at twice their price, and I really thought it was my product. It was probably more because I was 4 years old, and people bought them. But I was intuitively and instinctively an entrepreneur, had interest in business. But as for my parents' philosophy, they were, my mother's still alive, my father passed away last year, but very proud people, very hardworking people, and Dad's pride was, so it's a holiday, so we're still working. But that taught me really self-responsibility. And when it comes to my venue out to this, I was an academic person. Grades were my deal. I went to Baylor on a full scholarship, so but
Math was your game?
math and actually I like liberal arts as well, so English and so forth. But
So you could do numbers and words.
yes, and that's
That's good.
it's an accident, but yeah, I appreciate the arts as well. So I was an academic person. I asked my mother one time, Mom, I don't remember you helping me with my homework. I mean, that was masterful. How did you
Right.
get that done? She says, well, you never asked. I said, well, I was hoping it was more complicated than that, but I was, apparently my nature, it's my job, I'll do it.
Independent.
Independent.
For Bob and I guess we've always been achievers. And as Bob puts it, it wasn't so much that I wanted to make A's, it was that I didn't want to make a B. I guess the era that I grew up in was the era of the big corporation. And there were a lot of opportunities in the industry. New companies were starting, small companies were aggressively expanding and growing. And so there was an opportunity to get out of the big company and the big company routine and get to a smaller enterprise which had more of an entrepreneurial attitude. An opening was created for Vice President of Engineering, or I guess at that time it was Manager of Engineering. And so I interviewed for the job and went to work at Southland, which was a major independent at that time.
You were still young.
Been around, still young, right. Still around,
30
I guess
something?
about 30,
Wow.
actually.
Okay, but then something happened. You're sitting
Sure.
there at your desk just doing your business, trying to make the company grow, and you get an announcement from some law firm that you're going to be taken over or bought. How does that work?
Really, you get a call from the a company that has a strategic number of your shares, and they announce their intentions or want to set up a meeting with you and say, well, we need to talk because we have 9.5% of your shares. The SEC requires that you be under 10% or announce your intentions. So at that point, they have to talk to you. And they say, our intention is to purchase your company.
Were you angry? Were you...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, it's your life. It's something that you've put a lot of emotion and hard work into. And you look forward to a future of continued growth and prosperity, and all of a sudden someone says, it's over. We are going to buy your company. And we do have our own vice presidents and presidents. Thank you very much.
We don't need you.
Right.
We don't need Steve anymore.
No.
Is it like someone stealing your child?
Maybe not quite that, but it's like someone stealing your, breaking into your house and stealing all your furniture, or stealing your house probably. is a more
And you're
apt
helpless.
analogy.
And you're
Yeah.
helpless.
Yeah, you feel violated, you feel disoriented. I mean, you've been knocked off balance. Well, you've heard the sculpture story, right? The
Right.
statue, if you've seen it, is a cowboy torn up, gun missing, riding off into the sunset with a fist raised.
When you saw it and you didn't have any money to buy it, you still bought it.
And absolutely, yeah, that was the spirit. It's I'll Be Back is the name of the statue, and that's how we felt. First 2 years, maybe even 3, we didn't have salaries. We used our own furniture for office furniture. You know, we brought things from the house to basically get things started, and so the early years were lean years.
Confidence is 90% of the equation of success. The last 10% is ability.
Cross Timbers now owns this building in downtown Fort Worth, part of the history of oil and a symbol for this company. It was built in 1911 by oil and cattle baron W.T. Waggoner and was the tallest building west of the Mississippi.
Again, he was a famous old man, but he was first a rancher. His father came to Texas in the 1800s and staked out hundreds of thousands of acres and resisted oil and gas. They were kind of forced into the business by circumstance, and as it turned out, became very wealthy through oil and gas, but as in a low-risk manner as royalty owners. And so Then he became more of a traditional wildcatter once he had the base. But this is a conservative strategy in those times. I mean, he was a risk taker with a very conservative land holding and a base of royalty income. So in his day, that would have been the optimal position. I'm not going to go broke. And then the romance of oil and gas is associated with this building. You know, oil and gas will always be popular, always draw investors because it's a search for gold. But any one idea, and you can go broke doing it. If you spend all your money looking for gold and don't find any, you'll be broke. So what we like to do is offer that allure, off like the Wagners did, off of a conservative base where you can't go broke. You know, we can only enhance ourselves if we do it appropriately.
Keith Hutton is a petroleum engineer and calculates risk.
There's a finite amount of oil and gas, so they always decline. So what you're really looking for is you're looking for an area where it declines slowly, which probably means there's more in the ground in that particular area, which you can get out. When you see a company selling properties that maybe you shouldn't think they're selling, that have a lot of upside, that have been undermanaged for a while, and it's not to knock those particular companies, it's just that to them it's too small potatoes. Then one thing we do, we don't go steal a property from anybody. I mean, we will have to pay a pretty good sized amount of money for that property. But the key is after you've bought it, if you've bought that property in the right place, with the right attributes, then normally we take it and we increase the return on it. We usually find 60% more reserves than what we thought when we bought the property. One of the things that happened this year when we started buying all this stuff, in December of 1996, the field was making about 1,000 barrels a day. And by the end of this year, it's 2,900 barrels a day, almost tripled production.
So you're pretty good at knowing where to drill.
Yeah, we are. Our success ratio has been average about 97% every year, which means 97% of the wells that we drill find oil and gas. Now, as we do...
Doesn't that sound astounding? I mean, isn't that just like, maybe, how can that be? How can you get it so right?
Well, it's basically the type of drilling that we do. What you're doing is you're really drilling wells where oil and gas already exists.
Mark Vozar works with Keith.
Well, there's two big advents that have occurred in the oil and gas business that really have revolutionized exploration and development, and I think, and one is the computer, naturally. Since about 1990 or so, the big thing in geophysics has been the advent of 3D seismic. This is a well right here that's been drilled. It's a dry hole, okay? I can pull up that line and take the well information and create a synthetic seismic section from the well information.
In any business, there's many roads. You know, you can go, in our business, you can go, Mexico, Texas, you know, offshore. Russia, gas, oil, really fast depletion, really slow. And, you know, there's just all kinds of variables that you can choose. And what we chose is what we knew and had learned it in our prior career, that we want these basins, Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico. We want really long live properties, and that means they may be 30 years old, found in the 40s or 30s.
And somebody else doesn't want them.
And somebody else thought it was all over. And so what we do is take our talent and look for the missed nuggets. And I've been very successful at that. And so, but what you get in our strategy is you get lesser risk than drilling a wildcat. And as it turns out, virtually no risk in an otherwise, perhaps, depending on your strategy, very risky business. I mean, you can be broke in a hurry in this business. So what we've done is take a strategy, which in our minds is failure proof, and then make it better.
All right,
And so that's why we're able to prosper in hard times back when. We had a strategy that would not put us out of business. The main failure in business is undercapitalization. That is the most likely way you'll fail, is you're not properly capitalized, or you have a good idea, no staying power. And it's just like anything in life, whether you're in the market or in commodities or in a business, capitalization is probably the killer issue.
Staying power, where does that come from?
Staying power is both with your will and with, again, with financial resources. You know, that don't get out there too far if you can't afford to be there. You know, if it's a 50-50 idea, don't just get one swing at the bat. You need two. When did we go public? I would say we didn't have a choice. And if you go back and look at our background, this particular one, our godfather's Bob Rubin. Mm-hmm. He raised the seed money in a couple of hours, $35 million. Mm-hmm. And that group of people wants to liquefy or harvest, if you will.
Right. They want to cash out.
In 5 years. Well, we were in our 6th and then our 7th. And so, you know, basically, in our viewpoint, we could either sell the company and harvest, mm-hmm. or go public and let those people harvest. And so, you know, really the initial decision was which would you rather do? Mm-hmm. And, you know, obviously we wanted to continue the company. And this was a right answer for both parties.
Louis Baldwin is Chief Financial Officer and talks about going public.
We felt like that was the best way to maximize the value for our investors.
For the other investors, the private investors.
That's right, and we were a private investor, just like we're a public investor now. Oil and gas is not a growth business. Oil demand in the U.S. goes up about 1% a year, gas 2 or 2.5% a year.
Why did you start a business in an industry that isn't growing?
Well, it's what we knew how to do. And I would say that most of the people that start in business are successful are doing what they know how to do. And if it's a growth industry, that's great. But you can be a successful startup and growth firm in an industry that doesn't have a lot of underlying growth. If you can determine what niche of it you want to play and you've got a good plan, you can grow. We started with 8 employees across Timbers. We're up close to 400 now. We went public in '93 with about 40 million barrels of oil reserves. We're at close to 200 million barrels at the end of 1997. So somewhere in there we were growing, and the real hard part is not only to grow, but to grow profitably and to make sure that you're making money for your investors, not just getting bigger by issuing more stock. And we've done that.
Louis's daughter Laura wrote her undergraduate thesis at the University of Texas on what she saw her father living through, the decision to go public and the initial public offering. In the introduction, she says there are only 2 reasons to go public: to raise capital and to provide liquidity to selling shareholders. She also points out that the process is complicated and expensive and should only be undertaken when the company can demonstrate clear growth potential. We suggest going public with your eyes wide open. It's not easy and changes entirely the way you do business.
How do you motivate employees who work here to work harder to make money for other people? Because you just said the goal is to increase the shareholder value.
Well, most employees are owners of the company. They own the stock, either through outright purchases, through our stock incentive plans, or through the 401k, where they can buy stock or any other investment for that matter, and we match it. We give them dollar for dollar. So we encourage employees to do that, and it makes a real difference.
Well, the worst problem you can have in anywhere is people problems. I mean, if you've got a person, nobody likes to fire anybody, you know. And so if you've got to fire somebody, your mind becomes preoccupied with it, you dread it, you spend the week doing that. So if you have people that are great in what they do, no personnel problems, you don't distract from the mission, and you're running together. And so, you know, this company hit the ground running.
I mean, this is the best collection of people of any company I've ever seen.
A friend of Bob's for 25 years, Rick Seeds has just joined Cross Timbers.
I think in some organizations, they've been stifled so much and had so much of their creativity taken away from them that they get to the point that they're not going to be creative anymore. May not come up with this idea and no one wants to do it. So why come up with another idea?
Mm-hmm. Is there a way for you to reward ideas?
I don't think there's a way to reward specific ideas. I think there's a way to reward general performance and accomplishment of corporate goals that everybody's working toward. And I think that's one thing that Bob and Steve have done a great job of, is making sure that everybody in this company knows exactly where we're all headed. And so you don't have people in the boat rowing in a different direction.
Do what you know with whom you know. Seems simple, but all great ideas are simple. When Bob and Steve were ousted from Southland Royalty by a hostile takeover, they took a breath and started over doing the same thing with many of the same people. They had built Southland Royalty and established themselves in the oil and gas business. They had long-standing relationships with people who trusted them and whom they could trust. When they were ready to start Cross Timbers, it only took a few hours to raise millions in startup funds, and people lined up to follow them wherever they were going to go. On this program, you've learned if you have a good idea, the most important ingredient to success in business is people. Starting with nothing, working on borrowed furniture, Bob and Steve attracted people such as Lewis Baldwin, who was willing to bet on the come. No one took salary in the early days because everyone had faith. Bob and Steve had done it before, and they could do it again. Do what you know with whom you know, and you'll build a better business faster. At smallbusinessschool.org, there is self-help study for people who want to start a business and for those who want to grow the business they have. From the home page, choose Steps to Start or Steps to Grow. Next, you'll find 8 steps or stages of growth. At each step, you'll find links to more resources. Also, from the home page, you can choose Learn Online for access to streaming video and interactive study guides. We went to far west Texas, Andrews County, to a Cross Timbers field to see a new chapter in their success story.
We're drilling a hole at about 7,400 feet right now. They use well logs off of existing wells out here, ones that have already been drilled. They use seismic data, and all that is incorporated into picking a location to drill where you have the best chance for success.
I haven't asked anybody why the name Cross Timbers.
Well, Cross Timbers refers to the region that's a dividing area between West Texas and East Texas. It's an area of broken forest. And in the 1800s, the Indians and Comanches primarily roamed the western plains, and the piney woods were occupied by settlers, and the Cross Timbers land was no man's land. If the settlers got over there, they were subject to being killed, and the Indians raided through the Cross Timbers. So it's an area, it's not a lot of oil and gas in the Cross Timbers, actually. We don't have any operations there, but it does symbolize the history of Fort Worth and of Texas and the heritage of being a Texan, being in the oil business.
Yeah. Tell me about this new cap you've got.
Well, this is a cap that just shows XTO. That's our stock symbol. And it is an interesting contrast between the hard hat, and that's the real roots of the company. But we also need Wall Street and the investors and as a way to value the company. And these are the real owners of the company. These are the people that we're working for.
A favorite expression in the oil field is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We don't let people say that. What we want them to say is, even if it's not broke, can it be better? How good could it be?
It's more important to me to have fun and to be with talented, bright people, if you would, than to have more money.
Do you think that having big ideas, makes people bigger people?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And not being afraid to go down a brand new road. We're not afraid of change. We're not afraid of changing environment. And we're not worried that whatever the circumstances are, that we can't figure out a way to make the best of it.
You know, one of the things that we do in the adversity of the day, of the moment, is to know that it'll be better later. And believe that. You've got to believe that, because you're going to defy the odds, and you're going to succeed. Okay, the odds are you won't, but you're going to defy them, and you know that even on your bad days. And so the way you think where you'll end is a lot about ending there.
My hope is at the end of the time that people say it mattered that Steve Palco was here, that Bob Simpson or Lewis Baldwin or the rest of us, that there was something that was better because they were here.
Remember, do what you know with whom you know, and you'll build a better business faster. We'll see you next time.
Small Business School is made possible by support from IBM. We're not just for big business anymore. At our website, discover how technology can move your business forward. When it's your business, everything matters. IBM. And the United States Postal Service, delivering the promise to America's 23 million small and growing businesses. There's no wait at the post office, in your own office. USPS.com is waiting for you.
If you want to learn more about starting, running, and growing a business, come to our website, smallbusinessschool.org. There's streaming video and interactive study guides. The only way we can compete with big business is to be faster, smarter, and better. We are the engine of the American economy. We create the jobs. Small business is about big commitment. It's about sacrifice and struggle. But we do it because we say, if I don't do this, my life won't be complete.